Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Palusky, and I'm the president and CEO of Bethany Christian Services. So, the escalating polarization and political unrest in our nation is extremely concerning, and we join Christians everywhere in praying for peace. For more than 20 years of my career, I've worked in dozens of countries around the world responding to disasters. Some of these disasters, like typhoons and earthquakes, well, they were out of our control. Others were man-made, the results of political violence. I've lived in more than one country where attempts were made to overturn the results of a free and fair election by force. And I'm also a father, and I understand that regardless of the cause, the disasters can have a big impact on children and families. They create stress, fear, and uncertainty. At Bethany, our mission is to demonstrate the love and compassion of Jesus Christ to vulnerable children and families. So part of our mission involves supporting parents and families who are caring for children who are processing national unrest, violence, and political division. The majority of the kids and families we walk along experience significant trauma. Our hope is to offer resources to parents and caregivers whose children may be experiencing fear and may have questions about why there's so much unrest with this political transition. Our goal in mind today is we want to ask the question, how should I talk to my children about violence, political division, and tragedies in the U.S.? Today, I'm joined by Donald Nicholson, Bethany's Senior Director of Maternal and Child Health and Clinical Services. Donna, thank you for being with us today to better equip us as parents to address this important question during this unprecedented time.
Thank you, Chris. I'm honored to be here. These are absolutely important conversations, and Bethany has a long history of helping parents navigate such topics in trauma-informed ways.
I've lived in other places around the world where insurrection, political instability, and riots were all too real. When the attack on the Capitol happened on January 6th, like so many, I was shocked and dismayed to see such unrest and violence happening in my own country. The events of that day are a tragedy and are inconsistent as our core values as Americans and as Christians. I'm hearing from many adults that they're finding it difficult to process the unrest themselves, let alone to equip their kids to have these kind of conversations. So this question is a big one, but what advice can you share about how we can talk to our kids about tragic events or civil unrest happening around the world or in our own country?
Well, I completely agree that this is a lot for adults. And then when you're responsible for calming the fear of little ones, the weight of it all can be really heavy. So when talking to children about tragic events or civil unrest, it's really important to keep the following three things in mind. First, you want to acknowledge. Acknowledge events in a calm way and provide reassurance about your child's own safety and security. You want to be honest, so you don't want to tell your child something like, this could never happen here or to them, but really minimize the anxiety. You want to focus on your ability and efforts to keep them safe from harm. Second, you want to monitor. You want to first monitor your own emotions. Exposure to devastating news is upsetting and overwhelming for adults. It's natural to be emotional at times. However, children look to their parents and other significant adults for a sense of whether things are okay. And parents often serve as a child's barometer regarding their own safety and security. That's why it's really important for parents to manage their own stress level, manage their own emotions and expressions of those emotions, and reassure children that they'll get through this. So encourage your child to share their feelings. Allow them to express any feelings they have. But be proactive. Number 3, try to be in charge of what or how your child learns about the event. Depending on your child's age, it's a good idea to really limit a child's exposure to traumatic news stories and images. The older child might use social media to communicate with their friends about events. So it's also important to monitor their interpretation of what's happening around them.
So I'm imagining sitting down with my kids and wanting to have a real conversation with them so I could better understand their point of view. And their perspective, it's unique. So Is the way we frame conversations important when discussing issues with kids? How do we do it?
Absolutely. Keep in mind that each child will understand and react differently, and this will vary to some extent with age, developmental level, their personality, and pre existing anxiety, and also the manner in which they heard about the information. So, to get a better sense of what your kids understand about the situation, what they worry about, and what their desires are, I really recommend using open ended statements and questions. So, here's some examples. A statement might be, "Tell me what you know about what happened." And a question might be, "What questions do you have?" rather than saying, "Do you understand what happened?" So, what questions do you have and what have you heard or read will help you get a better sense of what your child's understanding, worries, and desires are for more information.
I love the idea of using open-ended questions. In my experience as a parent, I know I can often be shocked at how much kids know or even what their opinions are on a particular topic, especially my daughters. Um, Listening is key here. I know for many parents, it can seem challenging to step outside of our own thoughts and emotion about what's going on. I think one of the things that keeps us from talking to our kids about the things that they fear or we fear is that they won't be able to handle the truth. We often brush things off and hope that they won't really notice. Um, how honest can we be with children during times of stress, violence, and tragedy?
We have to be honest, but be honest within what your child can developmentally handle. So, start with simple and prepared questions. Have a conversation with yourself. Do you know what your children know about a current situation? You want to meet them where they're at and not introduce any unnecessary panic or fear. So, one of my friends said she was praying about the unrest with her kids, who are ages 12 and 14, and they were more freaked out at her intensity of prayer than the unrest. So, we need to know what our kids know and are exposed to. And all social media entities are talking about this in a variety of ways. So, this is a very important time to be talking, more talking, but containing your emotions so your kids will continue talking. One more thing that I really has come to my mind as I've reflected on this. I remember where I was and how I felt for my little children in kindergarten and first grade on 9/11. I wanted nothing more to go and get them and keep them close because the unknown was so frightening. I have to admit, I did call their school and they reassured me that the kids were safe. And that actually gave me time I needed to calm down and plan how I would talk to them when we got home. So we sat down at home and talked about their school day and through some basic factual events of the day. And we ended the conversation with the reassurance that God is bigger than this. And I told them I would try to answer any questions they had or talk to them at any time they wanted. That was important to us.
Mother Teresa has this famous quote: "If you want to change the world, start at home." For those of us wondering how we can make a difference, make space for intentional conversations with our kids seems like a great place to start. Donna, I'm so grateful that you took the time to share some tools for navigating the time we're in as a country. And to all of you caregivers out there, I hope that you feel more equipped to talk to your children about violence, political division, and tragedies in the U.S. As followers of Jesus, it's never acceptable for us to use violence to make a point or prove a political agenda. And yet violence is happening, leaving us in a place to respond. We are called to love God with all our hearts and to love our neighbors as ourselves. Our political activity must be carried out with this in mind, even with those who we disagree. While political elections are very important and the impact affects many aspects of life, Christians should prioritize the kingdom of God over the kingdom of man. Our ultimate hope is not for any politician, but rather in Jesus Christ. Many blessings to you all and your families, and have a great day.